Thank you so much. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Thank you all so much for being here. Incredible, always incredible getting to talk with folks that work in our schools. It's one of the highlights of our jobs and something that we need to do more and more to make sure that we're turning around great stuff that help you out. And so we know that it's a Thursday afternoon in January, and if I recall from my teaching days and days being in school, it's a tough time. And so thank you for taking time out of your week to be here with us. My name is Andrew Hodge. I'm joined by a couple colleagues today, Robin and Amanda. We are in the Office of School Programs at TEA. I run a division called Innovative Instructional Models. So we do a lot of work with blended learning and additional days school year and different initiatives. But coming to you today with a Texas Home Learning hat on and excited to talk about the COVID Recovery Instructional Materials Support Initiative, affectionately called CRIMSI. A few pieces of housekeeping before we do get started. We are going to use the Q&A function. I know there's going to be a lot of questions and got a lot of engagement in the chat. Unfortunately, can't always keep track of that chat as we've seen with Zoom. So if you do have a question throughout, throw it in the Q&A. That does a couple things. One, it allows me, Robin, and Amanda the ability to answer and keep track of the questions that we have answered and also pull them back full group, which is really helpful. And then also it allows us to organize them at the end and then turn that around into our FAQ document, which is up on our website that folks can reference. Before we do get started, just a heads up, because this is a popular question, the slides and the recording of this webinar will be up on texasHomeLearning.org likely by the end of the day, if not within the next 24 hours. So it'll be over on our CRIMSI page on texasHomeLearning.org. So with that, I want to go ahead and get started and focus in on the agenda for today. So what we'll be going over the next hour or so is a quick overview of Texas Home Learning and then digging really into CRIMSI and talking specifically about the benefits for educators, school-based folks, teachers, walking through the available units through through CRIMSI, then walking through the application. I want to give you all a chance to see what other folks are saying across the state about this. I'm also lucky enough to have Megan Correa, who works with Benavides ISD down in the Valley, have her talk a little bit about why she's excited to be doing CRIMSI, and then leave some time at the end for Q&A. Also, we'll try to answer those questions throughout, and Robin and Amanda, if you don't mind monitoring that and just calling out whenever there's a relevant question that we can bring back full group. But before we do get started, again, wanted to start with just thanks, gratitude, admiration, awe for you, for folks that work in our schools. It's the work that you do is unbelievable, unbelievably difficult, unbelievably important, and important is such an understatement of the work that you do. It's always hard. None of us got into this work because it's easy. We got into it because it's important, and this year is making it even more difficult. And just y'all being here today and y'all doing what you do each and every day is admirable, and we appreciate you. So thank you for being here. I wanted to start off with that note, and I think the goal of this work is to help you and to be able to take some load off the shoulders that often falls on, take some work off of your shoulders and the work that often falls on your shoulders with some resources through Texas Home Learning. So starting off just with generally speaking, what Texas Home Learning is. It's an aligned suite of resources that educators across the state, teachers, school administrators, district administrators can choose to use in full, in part, however it helps you meet the needs of your individual students that you have in your schools and in your district. We talk about this in three big parts. At the core of it, it's just really about good curriculum and instruction. So three components that we see impacting that are high quality instructional materials, supporting technology, and of course, professional development, because we know at the end of the day, this is about making sure that y'all have the resources that you need to do everything that you want to make sure that our kids are prepared for the world that exists for them. And the focus of our time today is going to be specifically on the instructional materials part of Texas Home Learning. which will then lead into what we talk about with CRIMSI here in a bit. Want to be very clear here that I think the value that we see in these materials for teachers is really the instructional materials through Texas Home Learning are designed to help teachers. Primarily, we're not here to say this is going to reduce your time. Everybody knows if you're in education, time is a word that often you don't even get to say because you don't have time to say it. But really, this is about spending less time on really developing and building those lessons from scratch, searching the internet for materials, different activities for your students, modifying existing materials for remote learning. I think a lot about my time as a teacher and the amount of time that I did that stuff on the left-hand side of your screen. It was a lot, and it was stressful because what I really wanted to do was focus on differentiating for individual students, analyze the student progress data that I had, and come up with plans and strategic ways to help my students meet their goals. And I think really customizing these virtual and in-person lessons to fit my unique teaching styles. And really that's where I wanted to focus my time on. And so we've developed these materials, and we're working with publishers to develop those materials so that folks don't have to spend all that time building lessons from scratch, searching for lessons and modifying things to meet the needs of a remote and in-person and both environment. And that's at its core what Texas Home Learning instructional materials are designed to do. When we say Texas Home Learning, when we say instructional materials in general, I think there's a lot of questions that come up. When I think about that, I think lessons and unit plans. And really, when we talk about instructional materials through Texas Home Learning, we mean the whole scope and sequence of instructional materials. So what are we teaching? What are the teachings that exist for my given subject and grade level? And what does it look like, my scope and sequence? What does my scope and sequence look like over the course of the year? What are the backwards plan unit plans based on that, the unit assessments, lesson plans, formative assessments within those lesson plans, summative assessments at the end of a unit, and then all the individual components that exist within that. So what are the specific student supports that we have? What are the teacher supports? Like what's my teacher lesson plan? What about family supports, which have built into Texas Home Learning? The blue box want to call out, this is obviously critical this year, things that are built to be digitally native, right? All of the Texas Home Learning materials are built to be digital. That doesn't mean you can't use them for in-person. So right there you see some of the materials you'll be able to have and host online, but you're also able to print them for your students that are in person. So you don't have to continue to redevelop lessons and worksheets for those students. Also want to call out that there's built-in progress monitoring through these tools, especially when you tack on an LMS or one of the more adaptive programs that are included with Texas Home Learning. And then, of course, supports for all of our learners. When we think about this big scope and sequence in good curricular design, it's designed to be a package, right? It's designed to be an entire scope and sequence, as many of y'all use within your schools right now. But we also recognize that making that switch to a complete scope and sequence is tough. And so that's a bit about the rationale for CRIMSI, and just wanted to call out this point that although it is designed to be used as a comprehensive scope and sequence, there are ways that you can and should customize it if you think that it's helpful to meet the needs of your classroom. So when I think particularly about my time in the classroom, I know I taught algebra too, and so you would know that there's perhaps a unit on rational equations that's coming up. And so I could look ahead with this and say, oh, that's a unit that I could potentially use. And so maybe that's a way that this fits into your scope and sequence for the year. The materials that we've released to date to kind of get a frame of what this means is pre-K through 12th grade. Pre-K, an integrated pre-K product. It's the Texas pre-kindergarten learning solution. You also have K-12 math, Eureka Math Teaks Edition, and the Carnegie Learning Texas Math Solution. You have K-12 RLA. The K-5 component of that also has an RLA Spanish component, which is really nice because in order to meet the needs of all learners in our state. And then science, we have K-5 PhD Science Teaks Edition. These are all available, and I just want to be clear that we're developing these materials with these publishers right now in response to what we've heard from teachers they need, and taking their feedback and adjusting these lessons. So that's why you see that you don't have the full complete set of materials that are available. You don't have that full scope and sequence, with the exception of the pre-K learning solution. But you do have a substantial amount of units that are available from the other products. I'm going to call out the K-5 social studies is coming soon, as well as K-2 RLA Spanish skills. But that is not available yet, and therefore it is not eligible for the CRIMSI pilot. So let's turn our attention then to this. Let's stop calling it COVID Recovery Materials and Support Initiative. Let's call it CRIMSI, because time is important to all of us. We've normed on that already, and want to speak a little bit about what CRIMSI is. So there are three main objectives to CRIMSI. Really at the core of it, it's helping folks help reduce student learning loss that is being caused by the current situation that we're facing due to COVID. I also want to make sure that we're supporting teachers with piloting a specific unit within Texas Home Learning instructional materials that has been developed for both in-person and remote learning. So trying to limit this duplication, replication of materials for these different settings, actually having materials that are built for both of them natively. And then finally, provide professional learning supports, both upfront in terms of upfront onboarding with individual products, but then ongoing coaching about the individual units and getting the most out of the individual units, and broadly speaking, teaching and leading instruction in a remote setting. At the end of the day, there's Texas Home Learning materials. Those exist. Those are available to any Texan. Any Texan that wants to use them, you can go to texashomelearning.org. You can grab them. You can use them however you want. If that's the extent that you want to interact with Texas Home Learning, that's fine. If you don't want to interact with Texas Home Learning at all, also fine. It should meet your needs. We are not trying to say you should do this. We're trying to say if this meets a need within your school, within your class, consider it. Texas Home Learning exists. In addition to Texas Home Learning, what CRIMSI is it ties additional supports, extra materials. So if you choose a unit that has trade books associated with it, we can pay for that. And then finally, it provides stipends to educators. The stipends are to do two things. One is to acknowledge that this takes extra time. It's going to take time to essentially insert this unit into your class, into your scope and sequence. And we want to make sure that folks are fairly compensated for that. In addition to that, there's also requirements that we'll go into in a minute. We're able to, as a part of developing these materials, we're able to deliver feedback from teachers to the publishers, and they are required to take that feedback and put it into play and continuously improve these materials. And so we want to make sure that what we're developing and what is available for folks this year and next year is something that's going to be useful. And so as a component of this, we are asking for feedback. Other benefits, in addition to that remote learning support, reduction of student loss, you have the materials. I want to call out also that the materials that are included, they're materials that are specific to that unit. And so, for example, with science, there are science kits that are involved in that. So actually getting science materials. I wasn't a science teacher, so I can't passionately talk about the science materials like I can the math materials. And Amanda, also a former math teacher, the manipulatives that we're able to deliver with these, really cool. It's a good opportunity to include extra resources for folks. Also, there's communities of practice that will have, you have the ongoing coaching in PD, and then additional planning assistance from Texas Home Learning. Let's shift to the other side, the requirements. So the requirements of the program, really the requirement that you see in the orange box is a requirement, but also a request. The request is that we want folks to be designing a pilot that meets your local needs. We've kind of put CRIMSI together as an option or a set of options that you can take in order to pilot the materials, but we want to make sure that this is relevant to you. So what unit is there that you need? What is the scale of the rollout? Do you want to go school-wide? Do you want to go district-wide? That's a lot. Do you want to do it within just a couple of classrooms? That's okay too. So really want to push people and request that they design that pilot that meets their individual needs. There's minimum number of instructional material minutes that folks will need. So for example, if my Class period is only is 60 minutes, and the Algebra 2 requirement is 45 minutes, then I meet that, great. There's also professional development that folks will participate on, including in addition to main points of context that folks will need to have and participation in district and school leadership, just to ensure that folks are on the same page. Want to highlight again the flexibility that's involved here. There's product-based flexibility, which is which product do you want to use, and even within those products, we're able to offer different units within THL. So Amanda's going to walk us through kind of that process here in a minute, but we want to call out again this flexibility, this design. This is a pilot that we're able to put together, but the pilot is really going to be based on what you believe is going to be best for your students. So that is a little bit about the requirements. Or about some of the high level benefits and requirements. Want to get a little bit deeper into the details here. Do also want to just pause and see Robin or Amanda if there are any questions that we want to call out.
Most of the questions so far, Andrew, have been around how to see what these available units are, which we are going to walk through in just a few minutes. And then we also drop the link to the web page for people who want to get a preview first.
That's great. Perfect. So we will walk through that here in a second. Keep the questions coming, and we'll do our best to answer them ongoing. Lisa out in Nectar County, piloting with a virtual academy, or does it have to also be face-to-face instruction? Let us dig kind of more into the materials and what's available. I think that's a decision that you can make. Again, they're all built they're all built to be digitally native, but you can use them in an in-person setting. So I think as you sift through some of the available materials, you can have that context to know whether or not it'll be a good fit. So let's dig into a little bit more about the benefits and commitments for educators, the ones that will be doing this work. So I mentioned before about stipends. Very excited to offer stipends with this. Again, the stipends are a few things. One of the primary reasons that we're delivering the stipends is because we will be asking for feedback. And that's kind of, we want to continuously improve these, make sure that they're useful at scale. So that feedback will be requested. I will show kind of two different options for those stipends. One is this baseline, one is the advanced. I would characterize the baseline as implement and give feedback, advanced more as implement and give even more feedback. So it's just that different degree of feedback. The reason that we aren't able to really nail down a time commitment here is that there are a lot of variables in it. It depends on the individual unit that you choose. It depends on the product and the associated professional development that goes along with it. And it also depends on the level of feedback that you're willing to provide. So that's a little bit variable, but the advanced option would be about 6 to 8 hours tacked on top of that baseline requirement. The eligible roles for all these are the same: teachers, instructional coaches. So as instructional coaches, that is at a school level, also at a district level. So if you're a district instructional coach, this is also an opportunity for you. Obviously would need to have teachers that are on board too, but this is an opportunity where you could find a group of interested teachers and say, hey, we want to do this and we want to do this as a group. And you can be eligible for everything that goes into it. So to really answer the question of like, yeah, but what are my time commitments? We organize this into kind of 3 columns for the time commitments. The green highlighted ones are the ones that are specific to the folks that we believe are on this call, which is mostly school folks and teacher folks. So the main areas that your time goes to are around an academic diagnostic. So really kind of doing a needs analysis. Where are we as a school, as a district perhaps, with some of our materials, working with an adoption coach. So this is making sure that you have everything that you need to be able to successfully implement those materials, and then having the onboarding as well. Onboarding does vary depending on the different instructional material or product that you're using. Then there's also ongoing training and then some pilot implementation. The pilot implementation is the core of this. This is actually when you are implementing the pilot, when you're given the lessons, when you're delivering instruction in the class. And as you can see, it varies based on the units that you choose. Again, we'll show the unit span here in a little bit once we kick it over to Amanda. For the advanced group, you can see at the bottom is where we have the specific teacher requirements for the advanced group. So this allows us to get a little bit more information and allows you to deliver more feedback to us, and then in turn the publishers to help improve the materials. This is more annotated lesson plans, what's going well with the lesson plans, what can be improved, a video of executing the lessons, sample student work, what are the kids working on, where are they having hangups, what's the level of rigor associated with those materials, and then some kind of some more compliance oriented but very important waiver forms that we want to make sure that we're complying with FERPA and other regulations, obviously. So this information is available on our website. If you want to look at it, again, like I said, this slide deck will be posted on our website as well, but this information is already posted there. There's an overview slide deck that you can look at. It looks a lot like this one. It's a little bit longer though, so these slides are in there. And finally, okay, so what does this look like over the course of the next few months? So as we mentioned, applications are, I'm not sure if I mentioned that, applications are open now. So applications are open in January. We're requesting applications to be submitted by January 29th. If that timetable doesn't work out for you, let us know, and we'll work something out to make sure that folks that are interested in this are able to submit that application so that our team can review. Once those districts are finalized in February, the spring pilot starts, and so that professional development starts, the onboarding training starts, and actually implementing the units within classrooms starts as well. As you can see in May, there's kind of a debrief period where we can figure out what you learned so that we can improve. And then over the course of, actually I would stop and say, and then in May, there's a chance for you to essentially say, great, this is helpful, it worked. We think we want to keep going with this, and we want to actually pilot it into next school year and do it, increase the scale of it. Or a chance to say, no, this didn't work. This isn't going to be something that we're moving forward with. But again, that's all a decision that you can make at that time. But based on your kind of piloting of these text home learning materials through CRIMSI, we hope that you'll have a better set of information and knowledge to be able to make that decision on. So great. And like what we're hearing in the chat, what is available to me. So we're going to spend the next few minutes actually walking through the website. Did get a good question on the stipend. So just let me go back to that really quick. Look at this as an either or. You are either getting the baseline stipend or you are getting the advanced stipend. So you're either getting $500 or you are getting $1,000. And I do want to be very clear that folks can implement as many THL units as they want, but through CRIMSI, it is one stipend per person. Great question. So this slide looks familiar. We showed it a little bit earlier. These are the products that we call in scope for CRIMSI. So these are all of our core, what we consider core as opposed to supplemental instructional materials. So these kind of span an entire grade level, cover a grade level and subject level worth of TEKS. And these are all the ones that are in scope for CRIMSI. One little exception here for my RLA folks out there. If you are interested in piloting foundational literacy, that is a separate conversation that we can have. You'll see in our materials, we have skills components and knowledge components of our K2 materials. And so participants are encouraged to use both, but you can choose to use just skills or just the knowledge-based curriculum instead of instructional materials. That's a decision that you can make based on the degree to which it fits within your needs. So these are the ones that are available. For folks that are wondering what are these supplemental materials, through Texas Home Learning, as you'll see on our site, we also have a K-5 math supplement. ST Math is available. A 3-year license to ST Math is available for folks. Use that if it's helpful. It's on the site, take advantage of that. It can't be used as a part of CRIMSI because it doesn't cover 100% of state standards. The full set doesn't cover 100% of state standards. We also have an adaptive online curriculum program from Amplify. It's called Amplify Reading Texas. That's also a really cool product that folks can choose to use within their schools, but it is not part of, not considered in scope for CRIMSI. And then lastly, before I turn it over to Amanda, these are some of the examples of pilot units in the recommended unit and the unit length associated with them, just so that you can kind of understand what that looks like across all the products. Amanda's going to show a really cool tool for us to use to make these decisions as well beyond just these pilot units. But this is just to give you a sense of what are some of the pilot units that are available and the unit lengths that that folks can choose from. So with that, I'm actually going to go to share a different screen. Can folks see my browser? Great, excellent. So thanks, Beth. Raised hand, that was super quick. I don't even know how you were able to do that fast. That's amazing. Okay, so Amanda, I'm gonna turn it over to you for this walkthrough. So just go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks, Andrew. So the first place we're going to go is at the top, that blue bar that says apply now for the COVID Recovery Instructional Materials Support Initiative. We see why we call it CRIMSI when you try to say it. When you scroll down, there is a teacher sandbox available to you. So you'll have all the application materials and more information. And then you get to the sandbox that is designed to answer a couple main questions. Thinking back to last year when I was in a school making decisions around curriculum for my students, a couple things that immediately come to mind are, what do the materials look like? Are they something that I'm interested in using that could be a match for my students? And what are the topics, which already has been popping up in your Q&A is, okay, but what is topic 3? How do I know if that's what I want to do? And so we've tried to make this information as organized as possible for you to quickly see what you need. So as Andrew said, I am a former math teacher. So we are going to look at Math K5. That's always my favorite. And on this Math K5 tab, you will see all of the available Texas Home Learning units that you could choose to pilot. So they are organized by grade. So each grade is a different color. So for second grade, one of my favorites to teach, shout out to the second grade teachers around. If you look at yellow, you'll see all of the available modules with the title, just to give you a quick look at what they're about. So thinking as a teacher, I'm going to look and see, what do I still have coming up that I could potentially try out a Texas Home Learning unit that matches what I'm already ready to teach. I don't want to go back and teach sums and differences to 100 to my second graders because we're well past that and we'll be even further by this spring. So the first thing you'll see is the bold unit. So for second grade, module 5, addition and subtraction within 1000 with word problems within 1000, also a mouthful, is the recommended pilot unit. So what that means is you can get the printed materials guaranteed. Those will be provided for you. For the other units, you can still select them. We just may not be able to help you get the printed materials. You might have to do your own printing. Then you can also see, are these materials available for me to see today? So for my second grade example, module 5, those are available now. So I'm going to show you how to see them right now. If I was interested in module 6, foundations of multiplication, division, and area, I can see samples, but I can't yet see the full module because that's coming in February. But we anticipate that that would still be enough time if you wanted to pilot that for it to be an option. And then that last column tells you the recommended number of daily minutes, so you can think about your schedule and if you have time to devote to this pilot. So now that I have in my head, I think module 5 for my second graders might be a good fit. There's a few places I can go next. So I could choose to look at the sample materials. So Andrew, go ahead and click on the K5 scope and sequence in the sample. This resource is a way that you can see all of the math grade levels K5 and more information about each module. So if you scroll down to grade 2, you will, or click down, fancy, you will see each module, the topics included in that module, how many days it is, and what TEKS are going to be covered. So this is a quick way to see if it's a match for the content that you're looking for. Now take us back to our CRIMSI page. A few other samples. If I want to see what a lesson looks like, I just want to preview. What is this? What is this product? Here is a video. Oh, we can watch it if we'd like, of a first grade lesson that I could use for my students virtually or in person, and some sample materials. And finally, going back to our CRIMSI page, thank you, Andrew. You can see a sample assessment. So those are just quick, easy clicks. If you just want to see what do these materials look like? How challenging or helpful would it be for me to pilot these right now with my students? Now, if I'm interested after that, like, yeah, these look pretty good. This looks like a type of assessment that I want to give my students. Those videos would be really helpful for my virtual learners. Then you can click to access all the materials. So for Eureka Math, they are openly available. You would go to curriculum, second grade, or math or science are both on the same site, grade 2. And then I can scroll down and see all of module 5 if I click on it, which was the one I was interested in. And there are lots of drop downs, as you can see. And under each topic are all of the lessons, just like that first grade that we saw with the videos, the lesson plans, the student work, all of the assessments. So you can actually look at the materials that are included in that pilot unit. Each subject might be slightly different as far as how you can access the actual materials, but all of the tabs on that CRIMSI webpage, I'll wait for Andrew to get back there real quick, back to our CRIMSI page. I'm taking you on a quick tour.
No, yeah, but I just saw a room in this tour that I really like. I got it. Tell me where we are. Here? Great.
Yep. So for all of the different products, let's click on, I'm a second grade teacher, so let's do RLA for K2. Because maybe I'm also thinking that I want to double up on my piloting. You'll see a very similar format with the titles to give you a quick preview. Are they available now, or is it going to be in the next month or so? A few samples if you just want to see what these materials are like. And then there's a place to either access all the materials, or a few of them you do need to register for, but that's all free. So if you click on register here, you can go through that process to get your login to access those materials. Some of them, it's about a day turnaround, but it's usually pretty quick and easy. Feel free to use your school address and district phone number if it's asking you for that information, but you'll be able to see the exact materials once you create your account. Robin, are there any questions that are popping up about that we should dig a little deeper into?
Yeah, there were a couple of questions that I was unfortunately not able to answer. One of them is, and this is, we can start with the content part. One question was, is Mathia part of this, since it's part of that scope and sequence listed there? Is there support for that?
I actually don't. So the way I understand with math, so this is a really good question. I'm, again, a high school math teacher, very excited about this. So so the way that I understand it, and maybe the algebra scope and sequence to give us some help here, but the way that I understanding is that there is the modules within Carnegie Learning that you have an actual lesson for, and then there's a corresponding Mathia unit for each one. With specific curriculum or instructional material related questions, if you do send, if you want to follow up and get a specific answer from our project manager on this on this content, shoot us an email at texhomelearning@ta.texas.gov, and we'll get you to the right person to answer the question, the exact question.
One quick add-on to that, Andrew, if I'm reading it correctly, Mathia, you can pilot in conjunction with the Carnegie units. Mathia is just not available to pilot only Mathia.
That's right.
As part of CRIMSI. So if you're going to do CRIMSI, you would do a Carnegie unit together with Mathia, and they really work together for your students. So yes, it's part of the pilot, but it can't be the only thing you're piloting in CRIMSI.
One more question about the content part. Is module the same as a unit?
Yeah. Whoever asked this question, that's fun. Yeah, one of the joys of working with all the different folks is that different publishers call different things. So some folks call it a module, some folks will call it Some folks will have a topic within a module, and some folks will call it different things. So I would think of each row here as a unit, and that's true for across all.
And then the last two here are a couple of eligibility questions. So the first one is, if you don't participate in the spring pilot, could you still participate in 2021, or could you use it for a summer intervention program?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, again, right now, the way that CRIMSI is designed is for this spring pilot, spring 2021 pilot. As of now, that's the only intention for CRIMSI. That is not to say you cannot use the same materials in any resources that we put out there for 21-22, or for summer intervention program like you mentioned, Ms. Hernandez. So we do not have intentions to build a separate CRIMSI for different time periods. Also want to call out, based on a good question, the Texas Home Learning instructional materials are available to any Texan. We organize that through our contracts to make sure that any Texan that wants to use it, whether you're a district administrator, a school administrator, a teacher, a parent, anybody that's interested, homeschool folks, that you can use that. CRIMSI is designed for Texas public schools and open enrollment charter schools. So in order to benefit from CRIMSI, in order to participate in CRIMSI, you do have to be a part of a district and part of a school within a district. Great questions. This site is available for you to go check out, texashomelearning.org/CRIMSI, so you can play around in there. And if you have feedback, there's always a feedback button down here. Share your suggestions, either about the materials themselves, or actually just reach out to us at texashomelearning@ta.gov, and we'll answer every question that comes our way. Amanda, anything else before we move on?
I don't think so. Thank you.
Awesome. Two things that Amanda said that I just want to call out. One is that some of these products you have access to from jump. Like right now, everybody has access to, like Eureka Math Teaks Edition, like PhD Science Teaks Edition. So you can access those materials there. The other ones, you will need to register, as Amanda mentioned, to see the full set. Registration is free. Registration is open to anybody, but you will need to register. The cool thing about registration is that it allows you to get access to other tools, other components, right? Like somebody mentioned Mathia earlier, so that'll allow you to get that. So that's why we have you register, and that's why the publishers have you register. So that's that. Other thing that I do want to call out and highlight and be very clear about this is that we have recommended units. These are units that we've already worked with the publishers to say, if we do this during CRIMSI, will you be able to essentially ship them all the printed materials that they request? And they've said yes, and they've committed to that. So for example, here, this module two, Exploring Constant Change, Linear Functions, that is a recommended unit because it's bolded here. If you don't choose a recommended unit, we will work with you to try to get those materials, but want to be very clear that we can't guarantee it. We can't guarantee that it will come. Do want to show one more thing. I'm going to pop back over to the slideshow. Amanda, Robin, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see the slides? Great. Yes, this comment down here, full unit descriptions on recommended spring pilot units are available on the website. Actually, let me flip back over to the website. If you are like, great, that's a great overview, but I need more, go up here to this document that says recommended spring pilots PDF. You can click that, and that'll give you a detailed description of all those pilot units. This is what you're doing. This is the unit length in terms of weeks, etc. So you can actually see all that information there. Again, the non-recommended units, we can help you figure that information out, and you can see it after you register, but we have this information posted for you there. Okay, want to go ahead and move back to the slide deck and answer the question of how do we actually apply? So, two things, and then I am going to go back and just walk you through the application super quick. We're hosting this webinar for teachers and school-based folks because we hope that this is useful for you. And we want to make sure that you are the ones that want this, and that it's not something that you're asked to do or you're told to do. It's something that you say, hey, we think this is going to be useful. We want to pilot it. That is our goal. That being said, because of the way that we've organized this program and the individual stipends within it, we still do need district or in-school sign-off to essentially say, thumbs up, we're okay with this. We are okay with the teachers going through the PD. We're not going to tack on an exorbitant amount of other PD, like this will replace some of what you get asked to do every day. We just want to make sure that your school team and your district team is on the same boat. So you will need district and school approval through this. Again, if you want to work with us to figure out how we can make that happen, if we can help you make that happen, let us know. We're happy to work with you. But the application is designed so that you as a teacher can complete it. A few key dates for the application are right here. Again, we are accepting applications, and requesting applications up until January 29th, which is next Friday. Again, if you need more time or if you have questions, you should reach out to us as soon as you can. And then we're notifying districts of acceptance of the program within 2 to 5 business days. I want to be very clear here. Our intention is that if there's interest by teachers and if there's interest by the schools, then we want folks to join this program. And so in the event that you submit an application, there's still information that is needed from you. We're going to reach back out to you and work with you to make sure that we can get that information. Our goal is to accept everybody into this program, but we want to make sure that the base interest from teachers is there and some of the critical requirements like time are built into the schedule. If you say, Andrew, that's great, but I think I need more help. I want more help in actually running the application and completing the application. We're hosting CRIMSI office hours next Tuesday. You'll be able to find this this link on our website, or you can go to this bit.ly right here. Actually hoping that Robin or Amanda, one of y'all can throw this into the chat for folks. You can see that bit.ly there, and you can join us at those CRIMSI office hours next Tuesday. Before we move forward, and Megan, Correa, thank you so much for joining us. Excited to talk with you in a second, but want to go ahead and just show folks how to actually complete the application, how to open up and complete the application. So I'm going to take folks back to Texas Home Learning website, go back to the CRIMSI page. All you need for the application is right here. This is the application. All you do is pick it up, open it up. I don't think that you can see it anymore, so I want to make sure that I can get it to you. This is what the application looks like. Pretty basic Word table document. There's information in there that asks you just basic district information, pretty basic campus information. You'll need to replicate this if you do have more campuses. If you have more than 5 campuses that you're interested in this for, let us know. You don't need to do this a ton of times. If we can help save you some time, let us know. Indicate what products you're interested in using, and then there's 3 questions here. Why are you interested in doing this? What role do instructional materials play? And what do you consider as high quality? So just 3 pretty basic questions that shouldn't take a ton of time. Again, our intention is not for this application to limit folks that apply. We want to make sure that everybody that thinks that there's use for this within their classroom, their school, does apply. The bottom, you'll see some of the district assurances. So this is district superintendent, CAO have approved participation. Again, if I'm in a bigger school district and I'm thinking getting the superintendent approval is going to take some time, reach out to us, let us know that, and we can work with you to make sure that that we have the right folks on board at your district. But then again, don't inhibit you from being able to complete this application. There are other pieces here saying, I commit to implementing the unit. I commit to going through the professional learning, which I would hope folks would be interested in, because that's essentially the core of the initiative. So I'm going to pop back out to the application timeline. Again, do another plug for the office hours, which are coming up next week. We'll do a quick overview again, go a little bit more in depth on the application, how to submit it. But really, it's more of a Q&A period for you to say, hey, don't understand this. What do I put? And we can help you through that. So we get this a lot. Great, TA, you're saying these things. I might trust you, I might not, which is fine. That's fine. But we want to make sure that folks are hearing what others are saying in the field. So we do have some quotes from folks' applications that are talking a little bit about why they're interested in CRIMSI. We also have a PowerPoint professional development course that also says on one of the slides, don't include this many words on a slide, so I apologize for that. It did highlight some of the key call outs that folks are saying because I thought they were pretty profound in why individual districts and schools were interested in CRIMSI was exciting to me. But rather than having you all read through these, we're lucky enough to have Megan Correa, who's the Dean of Network Academies through her School Innovative Collaborative. She works with a few districts across Texas and directly with teachers with some curriculum development, instructional coaching, primarily working with Benavides ISD with CRIMSI, and excited to have her with us today. Just wanted to ask her a few questions about her interest and why they're excited about CRIMSI, and then allow y'all to open it up as well if you do have questions for Ms. Correa to see what's interesting. So, Megan, how's your day?
It's going. It's always busy, right? It's middle of the year, so we've got testing, but it's busy and it's great. How about your day?
It's good, busy, but excited to be here. Shared earlier on, and Megan's coming from another meeting, super busy, but just always exciting when we get a chance to talk with folks that are doing this work in classrooms and in schools every day. So excited to have them. But again, as you know, the focus of today is the COVID Recovery Instructional Materials Support Initiative, CRIMSI. Excited that you and your team at Benavides have applied. Would love to just know a little bit first about your role, how you work with Benavides ISD, and then why specifically y'all are interested in CRIMSI.
Sure. I started working with Benavides last summer, so we went through an extensive curriculum audit to see where we had needs academically, and pretty much overhauled most of our curriculum. I'm going to give a plug for them. They've worked really hard. We had the reading academies, as everyone knows, in the younger grades, shifting our practice in reading. And in our exploration, we found the Amplify pilot for the full year pilot through TEA last year. So we wanted to align our practices. We wanted to get those high quality curriculum materials for our teachers to support the high quality practices. So we implemented those, and then, Texas Home Learning launched Eureka. They added PhD Science. They've now launched the pre-K. And I honestly feel like our other teachers feel a little bit left out. They're getting a lot of support in our Amplify pilot, and you can see a difference in our teachers' instructional practices, their confidence in the classroom. Our ELAR teachers have just gotten incredible amounts of support. So we've decided that we will pilot in the spring all of the programs for the teachers who are already using them. We thought that the spring was a really great opportunity, being shorter, to give teachers a sense of the materials before launching into a full curriculum launch. Specifically, we are using the Eureka now, and the teachers feel they need that support. They feel like they're trying with the curriculum, but they are lacking that support to really do a great job with students. And then our PhD Science and the pre-K, they are interested in seeing that the supports that our ELAR teachers got. Everyone is incredibly jealous, and they all want that support so that they can push themselves to do the best they can do for kids. So we're really excited. The support has been phenomenal. Our teachers will gladly tell you anytime they need anything, they've gotten support. They feel comfortable with the materials, and if they don't in the moment, they know how to get the support they need.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's actually where I was going next. I think at the end of the day, like I mentioned earlier, this has to be something that meets the need for teachers, or else I don't think it's the right thing to put in a school. Like, we want to make sure that it meets that need, that teachers are excited about it, teachers are using it. Tell me a little bit about why the teachers that you work with are interested in CRIMSI.
They really want the support that it provides. They want the high quality curriculum materials. Upon looking, so we did a huge audit last summer and looked at what we were currently using versus what did our data say, comparing to the standards, and where did we feel like there were some gaps. Benavides is a rural community, so what they had is what they had. So we launched an extensive search on what else was out there and what was available, and it aligned. And then as Texas Home Learning and CRIMSI has released things, those few areas that we hadn't made any decisions on, we explored, and they meet the needs that we're missing. There's going to be the opportunity to have, a problem-solving model across the campus, having writing and science across the whole campus, so that students are developing systems and structures year after year after year, reducing their gaps, but also building their other skills.
That's excellent. I think like what stands out to me is just how exciting that is. I think that this year has been, as I mentioned at the beginning of this year's been particularly tough for anybody in education. I think exponentially tough for teachers. I guess I'm curious to hear from you. Like, there's a lot of folks that say, you know what, I don't want to ask this of my teachers because it's one more thing. In a year like this, like one more thing, I'm not doing it. And I agree, right? I agree. And I think we talk about this as, this shouldn't be a send this to your teachers. This should be a like, figure out if it's going to help them. And if it does, let's do it. I think like, in addition to that, why your teacher's question, like, why now? Like, why not wait until the fall to do this?
I think they enjoyed the opportunity with the world upside down to have some support in something. They would get the support in the implementation. They would have people that they can turn to when they feel stuck. I feel like everyone's kind of grasping to do the best that they can, but maybe they don't have the support to do that. Maybe they do. But we felt with, our other pilot that the amount of support that the teachers received was unparalleled. We get very quick responses. We're able to get answers to anything, relatively quickly. So teachers have had kind of like a fallback. I'm stuck. I really need help. What do I do? In their ever-changing world, I feel like that's a constant. But they also feel it's less commitment right now. They can just try one unit, see how it goes. Maybe it'll be better than what's happening in my classroom right now, because I'm just trying to get by with what's going on. So I think that they've felt that they can lean a little bit on something that is already done for them and have support to do it and see if maybe this will work better than what I'm doing right now. So I think they also liked, it's just a unit. Let me see how this goes. And then they can, then make a decision to launch the full curriculum next year or not.
Excellent. Want to open it up here in a second for questions from the folks in the audience, if y'all do have them. But Megan, I guess kind of in closing here, is there anything else that we have over 100 educators that are on today? Is there anything else that you'd want to share with them about this?
I think if you have questions, ask them. I found the team to be incredibly responsive. I work at 6 different schools. They all have very, very different needs, and the responsiveness is amazing. I feel like there are times when you don't always get that opportunity to ask all the questions that you need to be sure it's the right choice. This is not one of those times. I've asked every question under the book, and it is always met with lots of support, understanding. And the amount of flexibility has been absolutely incredible. We've had a school open and close almost weekly. Someone's closing, and the team that has supported us has instantly been flexible and adjusted to us. And I think given everything else, this could feel like this is just going to be another thing to navigate. It's not. It has really been flexible with our needs. Sorry.
Yeah. And that actually ties to one of the questions that we got. So what was the biggest concern from your teachers going into this, and what did you do to either alleviate or not alleviate those concerns?
It wasn't, it's a trial and error. It's not without flaw. But I do think that the constant communication with the team has really been helpful. They've been a thought partner. They haven't been a firm fisted, this is the expectation of these pilots. They've really been like, okay, here's your hurdle. I'm hearing you. Now, how can we solve that problem? So I do think one of you have to communicate to get through it. It hasn't been perfect. But in the end, I don't even think the answers we've come up with as teachers, as a team, would have not been as effective as adding in our supports. I think altogether we've been able to brainstorm pretty incredible solutions that the teachers have felt, we're above and beyond for students.
Yeah. That's excellent. Thank you for the work that you're doing with our schools and with our teachers, and thank you for taking time out of your day to be with us. I know it's incredibly busy, and thank you. So folks that are on, please, I guess we could do like can you raise hand? It's a raised hand, but we'll do it as a wave for Megan, just to thank her for some of her time. You should just see this number going up. Yeah, thank you so much, Megan.
Thanks, guys.
We do have a few more minutes. Very, again, honored and just happy to be here with you all. In closing, just a few things. Again, plug those office hours that are coming up next week, next Tuesday. This recording and these slides will be available on texthomeLearning.org. We'll put them on that CRIMSI page for you, so they're pretty easy to find. But you can find pretty much everything at that website, and then reach out with questions. As Megan said, we're here to help. This is a response to the situation that's happening in the schools right now, and we're here to help. So reach out if you do have questions. Again, I would say, above all, thank you for everything you do. This the COVID, the CRIMSI. It is something that we hope will lessen the burden that's on teachers' shoulders and get your time away from building things from scratch or searching for tons of hours online, and get you and hopefully get you to be able to focus more on what you want to focus on as a teacher. So we're elated to have you here. I'll leave this screen up for just general questions, but if you do hop off, thanks so much for joining us. Have a good rest of your week, and we'll go ahead and answer some of these questions.
Andrew, there's a few of these I think we may not have an answer to right now, but can follow up with folks and are working on an FAQ document. But maybe if you're able to answer, there are a couple of questions about when professional development will be offered.
Yeah, that's a great question, Ms. Lowry. The question is, will the PD be during the school day requiring subs? I can't 100% answer that question for you. I do imagine that we wouldn't want to. We don't want to take folks away from the classroom where possible. So if that's something that we will publish on our FAQ, if you want to follow up specifically about an individual product, because that PD will be different per product, go ahead and just send us a note, texashomeLearning@ta.texas.gov, and we'll be able to answer it. This is a good question about data points. So monitoring student progress. What measurements are used? How do you measure student success? So I would say this differs by product. And Amanda and Robin, you may have better insight to this. There's some products. Somebody mentioned Mathia earlier, which is the component with Carnegie Learning, Texas Learning Solution, Texas Math Solution. That actually gives you real-time feedback on student understanding, and so you can actually measure their progress in real time whenever you want as an educator. And so that's kind of one end. The other ways are kind of through generating some of these. They're taking some of the summative assessments, the end of unit assessments that you can use to measure student impact. I will say one of the cool things about Texas Home Learning is that beyond just the instructional materials, when you do register for the products, you get access to, there's a few different things, like one with the Eureka Math Teaks Edition, PhD Science Teaks Edition. You actually get access to their progress monitoring platform. So it's a really cool platform that you can use to kind of manage all this. So there's That's a lot to answer your question, Monica, but essentially it depends on how you want to use it. The capabilities are built in to be able to have some pretty serious progress monitoring, but I think it depends on how you're using it within your
Yeah, I'll just add, Andrew, all of them at a minimum have formative assessments built in to the lessons. And then some of the projects or some of the products that are more, built into a digital or virtual platform like ST Math, Carnegie Learning, and even the pre-K, Texas Pre-Kindergarten Solution from Teaching Strategies.
Yeah.
Those have like digital tools that are meant to measure engagement and track and note observations and things like that. But at minimum, they all have formative assessments that should help you track progress along the course of the unit, and then summative assessments to measure it at the end of each unit and the course.
Jennifer, great question. Is this Google Classroom friendly? So Text Home Learning is designed to be, Amanda, you clicked, you'd like to, do you want to, you got it? Amanda clicked, she wanted to answer this live. But Text Home Learning products are designed so that you can access them without a content management system or a learning management system altogether, or you can actually integrate it with Canvas, Schoology. You can integrate it with Google Classroom. And a little preview of what's coming down the line with Text Home Learning is we will have, we're kind of developing more about our supports for that tech integration. So stay tuned either through our newsletter, which you can sign up for on texthomeLearning.org, or through the website directly. We'll be promoting a webinar to give those supports and make sure that it's as easy as possible for district admins to be able to set that up. With that, we are at time. Thank you again. Thank you so much for joining us today, taking time out of your busy day. Megan, thank you for joining us as well. For everybody on this call, thank you so much for all the work that you do for Texas kids, and have a great rest of your week.